Okay, let's go.
Alright, well, Assalamualaikum, brothers. How are you all today?
Salam. How's everybody? How's everyone doing this Hari Raya?
Samaya to all of you watching. Selamat Hari Raya Mahal Jamatin from us at MMF. Okay, today, I know it's Hari Raya and all, but kita nak kena berbual, we have to talk about something that's quite heavy. Which is Wasiat and Faraid. It's a very popular topic. I mean, Warna, the radio station, has gotten me on a number of times to talk about this particular topic. We're running a class on Wasiat and Faraid in the beginning of May as well. And so today, I think, I want to talk about Wasiat and Faraid, the misconceptions about it. A lot of the times I hear people tell me the wrong thing. They say ni tak boleh, oh ni langgar faraid, semua tak boleh. Especially considering that just yesterday, a friend of mine, his uncle passed away quite suddenly also. And so I want to cover misconceptions very, very quickly. I want to invite both of you, Zul, Asri, my brothers. What are some of the scary stories or scary misconceptions that you've heard your clients, your family members have told you before? Zul.
Okay, well, I think one of the misconceptions is that, or is it more of a misunderstanding, misunderstanding or misinformed facts is that kenapa lelaki dapat bahagian lebih?
Yeah, normal. Why does the man get more?
And I have seen personally whereby the balu or the wife or the daughters, because there's no son, get so worked up and because the faraid falls into the husbands or the late husbands, relatives or brother, which they are not close to. So it becomes an issue for technically, because of the misconception or the misunderstanding why does the faraid has to be that way.
Yeah, I've seen many times also. It's not necessarily wrong. It's not wrong. I mean, when we look at Quranic verses and all, there was a hadith by Prophet Muhammad who said, give the proper portions to the wives and the daughters, and whatever is left goes to the nearest male heir. And a lot of the times I hear people say, oh, but I don't want it to go to some faraway uncle or some faraway cousin, or even worse, sometimes I hear people come to me and say, I don't want my son to get a majority of it. Maybe because they have, family issues and so on. And that's quite common. No judgment on that part. Right? But before we go further into that, why do you say that's a misconception?
I think it's more of a misinformed than a misconception of the how does the breakdown of the faraid works. And also they don't understand that some of them have a misconception that when I do a wasiat or when I do a will, I can decide how my legacy, how I want to distribute my legacy. Like, oh, I don't want to give my son, I want to give everything to my daughter through my wasiat. So it's a misconception on the part. It's a misinformed facts. Yep.
No, you're absolutely right. I myself, I've encountered cases where people come to me with a wasiat that they've written themselves, and they say, okay, I want to give everything to my daughters. I want to exclude these people. Folks, if you're watching this right now and that wasiat goes to court, that wasiat is invalid because it goes against faraid. Now, are there ways that we can plan our succession, our inheritance to fit our desires? Yes, that one we'll cover for another episode. Today is just about misconceptions that people hear. People think that, oh, I just write a wasiat means I can give everything to one particular person. I go against faraid. That is wrong, wrong. If your wasiat goes against faraid, it's an invalid wasiat. Let's throw the ball to Asri. Brother, you have done so many witnessing, you've delivered so many of our wasiats to our clients. What are some of the common misconceptions that you encounter until today?
I can recall maybe two. One of it is that with a wasiat, they feel that they can actually gift certain portion to beneficiaries who would otherwise receive only a smaller portion. Like for example, if they only have daughters, obviously their brothers the deceased brother may actually get a larger portion. But it's not true, of course. To do that, you need more than just a WhatsApp. You need proper financial planning. And what Afiq just said, we'll do that in the episode. Yeah. The other one, which I do worry, not just for any random people, but those of my family members as well. They feel that since we're Muslims, Faraid is enough. You don't need wasiat. That's a very, very heavy misconception.
Oh yeah.
To be honest, yeah.
Oh yeah. To elaborate further, that's a huge one. All the time, I hear people tell me cannot write wasiat because there's Faraid, or they say because there's Faraid, no need to write wasiat. Huge misconception. You're absolutely right. Because what we have to understand is we live here, especially in sunny Singapore, processes and regulations must be followed, right?
Yep,
A wasiat is simply that. A wasiat is just a process, is just one of the things that we have to do. Doesn't mean that we can rely on Faraid. Yes, Faraid distributes the money in a certain way, and a wasiat can be used to enhance that, yes. But at the bare minimum, what's a wasiat for? Asri?
A bare minimum, I would say,
Aku
it's to appoint an executor. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have a wasiat, the people who will be alive after you're gone, they are the ones who will be doing the what's required as part of a religion. And me, if I were to pass away today and I didn't appoint someone, I wouldn't be sure if anybody would actually be fighting over my assets. You know, so at the end of the day, the people who is going to be affected are my kids.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest worry. With a wasiat as well, I'll be able to appoint a legal guardian. And that's my biggest concern. And that's my biggest win, I suppose, when I do a wasiat. I get to appoint my legal guardian because after all, my kids are only still 8. The eldest is 8 years old. So they obviously need a proper legal guardian to take care of them. And in the worst case scenario, both me and my wife were to pass away together. That's the worst case scenario. I need someone who I know I can trust to be able to take care of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So folks, if you didn't catch it, a wasiat is simply to appoint the people in charge. Your executor, the person who's going to do all of the dirty work after you're gone, the guardian, the people who are going to do even more dirty work, clean up your children and all that. Okay, so a wasiat is not just about, oh, no, I want to give money here, give money. No, the wasiat is to tell the people who's in charge of my assets, who's in charge of my children after I'm gone. That's it. And on that note, one of the biggest misconceptions I always see is this. Oh, don't worry. When I die, my wife will confirm be in charge of the children. There are so many horror stories that I personally encounter where when one parent passes away, the second parent, either the father or the mother, is not the guardian. So there's this huge misconception. So to answer that, let's look at it this way. There's two kinds of guardian. There is a legal guardian. A natural guardian. There is a natural guardian, your biological parent, that's a natural guardian. And then there's a testamentary guardian, somebody you appoint. Typically, the courts will say, okay, we prefer the natural guardian. Prefer. But are there cases where the natural guardian is unfit? I have seen cases where the parent, the widow, this one case where the mother was jobless, suffering from depression, and had some health issues as well. And she had 9 children. Wow. So what do you think the courts would say? Can a person who is unfit, literally unfit, mentally unhealthy, physically unhealthy, no finances, can take care of all 9 children? No lah. So
Definitely.
what was that case? God sent all 9 to orphanage. Natural guardian. Now, of course, you have testamentary guardian, somebody you appoint. And like Asri says, it's so important. We have children. My kids are 9 and 6. You know? And like you say, if both of us go at the same time, not me and Asri, me and my wife. If me and my wife go at the same time, the testamentary guardian needs to be appointed, because who will fight? The family will fight, right? The grandparents, one set will say, no, I'm the favorite grandparent. The other set of grandparents, no, I'm the favorite grandparent. I'm supposed to take care of it. So what we have agreed upon was we appointed my sister-in-law as the guardian for the children. And so when we pass away, the courts will say, okay, your testamentary guardian is this person that has been appointed. And so they will be in charge of the financial, medical, and educational decisions for the kids. That's so important. For those of you watching today or listening in, and you know you have young children and you're afraid of who is going to take care of them, just write a wasiat, put who's your executor, the person in charge, and put who's the guardian in charge of the kids. That's it. You don't have to talk about faraid, you don't have to talk about asset distribution. Kan? What about you, Zul? Tell me, give me another misconception that you normally hear.
Misconception. Let's see. I can't think of any right now. Asri, why don't you take this?
I wouldn't say misconception. I do hear horror stories lah.
Cerita.
I would say a horror story was that a family, the deceased passing away, but before a wasiat, and then they were fighting over the deceased assets and everything. So the ones that was affected was the child itself, was the child of the deceased. The mother couldn't, of course, the wife obviously doesn't have much say because she doesn't really understand the whole process. And of course, the old folks would actually be more vocal about all this because they believe that they know more. I don't. There's no right or wrong in that, but I think with these kind of situations, it's best that you seek proper advice from someone who's qualified. At the same time, do proper preparations. The sad thing is that, like I said, we all don't think that all these are necessary, and the problem only surface when you go through it itself, and by then it will be too late, of course.
No, absolutely right. I hear all the time. This one, no offense to anybody who's listening in, but I do hear this all the time, especially from the older generation. They keep saying, oh, ni semua jangan, ni semua not Islamic, tak boleh, nak kena ikut faraid, oh, semua dalam Quran, dah kata dalam Quran. Now, I'm not saying langgar all these things. I'm not saying go against Quranic rules. I'm not saying it. What I'm saying is, people have to be very aware that we can absolutely be successful here in the dunya, follow all the right regulations to make things easy, as well as follow the Quranic teachings. And here's the best part of all. If you're living in Singapore, AMLA, the Administration of Muslim Law Act, basically has all the Sharia Quranic laws built in. Okay? A lot of people have this misconception. Oh, this one, we Muslim cannot write will. Oh, Muslim all must follow Sharia. Yes, absolutely. And it's written into our law. It's fantastic. That's why, as a Singaporean, I feel so blessed that, we have all of these things built into the legal system to support us. So let's talk about this for a bit. I have one of the horror stories I always hear is this. People come to me and they say, the arwah is gone, die must follow faraid, no matter how also must give, follow this, follow that. Did you all know that if all the beneficiaries, the people who are left behind, agree, your wishes can be followed? For example, I write a letter. I say, I want to give all of my money to my wife and children equally, right? My parents, my siblings, all, I wish that they would give away their share back to my children and my wife. they agree, can be followed. Do you all know that?
Yes.
Right.
I
And of
have,
course,
I have
yes.
one.
Tell me.
Yes, yes. I have one. Came across this experience with a client whereby the late father, passed away. So apparently, the elder brother is unangkat.
Hmm.
So when the distribution of Faraid, everything falls to the rest of the sibling except for the elder brother. The elder brother only gets a nominated sum from insurance, from CPF. So through the request of the mother and the fathers, I don't recall there's a will, but through the request, one of the siblings was asked to forego his portion to the elder brother because the elder brother has been taking care of the mother. And since everyone agreed, the distribution part for this client actually went to the elder brother. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. So for those of you watching, yes, if the other beneficiaries agree and they want to give their portion to somebody else, absolutely. That's fine. That is allowed. And so another one that I always hear this misconception is this about anak angkat, adopted children, adoptive parents. It goes both ways. So it has been stated, adoptive children or parents have no share in Faraid. So for example, if I have an adopted child, I pass away, my adopted child gets nothing. And if that adopted child passes away, I get nothing, even though parents are part of Faraid. So I know you fostered someone, right? Did you leave anything behind in your wasiat for her?
Yeah, I will need to revise that, but definitely we're gonna leave something for her lah.
And again, a misconception that I always hear is this: no, cannot langgar Faraid. I cannot give to outside. You can. So for those of you out there who do have adoptive children or adoptive parents, in your wasiat, you can say, hey, I want to give a portion not exceeding 33%. I want to give a portion to this person. And here's the best part: the courts will actually uphold because you are allowed to do it in Islam. Big
Correct.
misconception that people don't know about. Huh?
I think one of the examples which I have also with one of my clients who is a revert. So she wanted to give back to her parents who is a non-Muslim. So in according to Faraid, you can't give back to a non-Muslim family members or friends. But if you have it stated in your wasiat, it's within your wishes that you want to give that 33.3%. Yeah, by all means. And if you want to give more, the rest of the beneficiaries agree to it even before or after your demise. It can be done.
Yeah. No, you're right. I mean, the key is writing it up. Right, writing it up. And for anybody listening who is a convert or revert, another misconception I always hear is about Baitul Mal. So if you've heard of Baitul Mal, it is what we call the beneficiary of last resort. When there is nobody else available, then the money will go to Baitul Mal, especially in the case of reverts and converts, because non-Muslims do not inherit from a Muslim. So I've had one case where one of my clients, she is a revert. Her main concern was if she passes away, her siblings, her parents don't get anything because they are not Muslim, right? And she's single. So if she passes away, literally, when we did for them the inheritance distribution calculator available on Shara Court's website, it shows 100% goes to Baitul Mal. So are there cases that yes. And how do we mitigate that? Simple, write a wasiat. Write a wasiat to say, hey, give that 33% to these people. They can. And another related misconception I also hear is that if there are no men in the family, it will then immediately go straight to Baitul Mal. No, not true. Not true. Because folks, remember this. Look at yourself. If you're married, if you're single, look at yourself. Then look to sideways. Are you married? Do you have siblings? Then look above. Do you have parents? Then look below. Do you have children? As long as the entire circle somehow got people, somebody will get the money. You won't go to Baitul Mal immediately. Some people say, no, all will go to the Baitul Mal. No, it's not thing. It's actually very, very hard for the money to go to Baitul Mal. Not that easy. Kan? What other misconceptions can we all think of? Asri, you want to say something?
Yeah, having said all this, I feel that there is this misconception as well that I just recall. We watch a lot of movies. You see somebody passing away, and then they just write a simple document, and then they just sign or put a thumbprint, or somebody actually forging those documents. But the truth is that you need more than that, more than just the deceased or your own signature in that document. You can't actually just write a simple few words saying I want to give this to a certain person, because the WhatsApp itself requires more than that to make it legally acceptable in the courts.
Legally binding,
Yeah.
yes. Which is
So-
what? What the word?
So you need 2 witnesses. Male witnesses, you just need 2. Whereas for female, you'll need 4.
And the misconception we hear all the time is, tak apa, I can ask my father to become my witness. I can ask my brother, I can ask my sibling, I can ask my uncle. Cannot. Okay? Folks out there, in your wasiat, your witnesses cannot benefit from your passing. They cannot be beneficiaries. So that's why me and the guys, we have witnessed multiple wasiat, so many we have witnessed, because we cannot gain from your death, right? I always make the joke. I always tell my clients, the reason I can be a witness is because I don't benefit from your death. And I'm male and I'm Muslim, of course. Yes. But if you decide to put in your wasiat, I want to give a small portion to Afiq, I cannot be witness. But so far that hasn't happened.
Yeah. Not yet.
Yeah. But yeah. So witnesses are so important. I have seen so many wasiats that are invalid simply because they chose the wrong witnesses or no witness at all. Right? So witnesses are something that is so critical. We have to understand that your witnesses minimum are 2, and you need 2 male Muslim witnesses who are of sound mind, and not Fasiq. Fasiq means they are reasonably good Muslims. Let's put it that way. Right? Talking about this, I also hear this thing about misconceptions. The one where when somebody passes away and there is doubt whether they are Muslim or not. How like that? Have you all met a Malay person who's not Muslim?
Yes.
Right. Yeah. So when in Singapore style, I have met people who have that little card that says they have renounced the religion. Right? They have declared. So the question I have is this: for those of us who have renounced the religion, there is documentary proof. But what about the people who don't have the documentary proof? Then how? Is it necessarily you Malay means you must be Muslim?
No.
How?
No, definitely not.
I have friends who are Indian Muslim. I have friends who are Chinese Muslim.
I used to know a Malay pastor.
Wow, Malay pastor. Right? People just assume, this one Malay, confirm Muslim. No, So the misconception that we are trying to address here is this. We can't, and I tell my kids this all the time, there's a huge difference between race and religion, right? So when somebody passes away, typically we always have to check the documentation, right? Just because, and let's be frank, we all have that one friend, the rosa sikit. That one friend, the rosa sikit.
If there's no one that you know, then it's probably you.
Yes, if you don't know anybody who's rosa, you're the rosa one. But yeah, I've encountered multiple times, right? I've encountered multiple times where the misconception is super clear. They come up to me and they say, this person has passed away. By his behaviors, by the way he led his life, he is not Muslim. But then he passed away. And then they're asking whether to follow Faraid or not. I will only ask 2 questions. First question, is there documentary proof that he had renounced the religion? if there is no documentary proof, he would have deemed to have passed away from the religion of his birth. So then second question is, we have to ask, were his parents Muslim? Because the courts will then assume, okay, because the parents were Muslim, the one who passed away would have been Muslim as well. So is it complicated? Very, very complicated. Is it something that we can help you with? I honestly don't know. But if anybody out there, if you're watching and you do need advice, you do need help, you do have questions, send it in the comments below, drop us a message. We'll be more than happy to help all of you. And today's episode is all about misconception only. Only misconceptions. We haven't talked about processes. We haven't talked about case studies. We haven't even talked about horror stories. I mean, one of the horror story is to me considered a very normal horror story. Naik bas dah gaduh. Arwah baru dikebumikan, naik bas dah gaduh. Tu standard horror story. And I mean, let's face it. This is the topic that there's a lot of, like what Zul said, a lot of misinformation, a lot of misconceptions, a lot of misunderstanding. Let's put it that way. Okay? And anytime we talk about religion, it's always a touchy topic. We talk about money, even worse. In today's episode, we're talking about money and religion, or the touchiest topic out there. So for those of you who are watching and you're wondering, what are some of the touchy questions, touchy topics, drop us a comment. Let us know what are some of the horror stories, some of the misunderstandings that you've had or you've encountered, and we'll be happy to help. And so, last one before we go for today, gentlemen, any misconceptions or horror stories you want to share before we end?
I think one of the horror stories which I personally experienced was this particular client. So basically, I was trying to reach out, asking him to prepare a will for his late mother. So at that point of time, the late mother was bedridden, was already quite ill, critically ill. So I said, let's sit down and do this. So procrastination upon delay, so the mother passed on without any wasiat done. So during the funeral itself, after the kebumikan, there was an argument between him and the siblings.
What's new, right? What's new?
So what's new? So the twist is that dia anak angkat.
So gaduh pun no point lah.
Zero. No wasiat done.
Oh man, that's gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt. People who either don't know, dorang anak angkat, they don't know that they're adopted, and some horror stories I hear, they know that they're adopted, but they claim they're biological. Wow, that's a tough one, man. That reminded me of one very common misconception I hear also. That the children or the people in charge, the caretakers of the caregivers of the aged can write wasiat on their behalf. Cannot, folks. If you are taking care of an aged parent and you're concerned about this, make sure they are mentally capable before they write a wasiat. Because if you write a wasiat on somebody else's behalf, even though you have an LPA, another topic for another day, even if you have a lasting power of attorney, even if you have deputyship about the person, you cannot write a wasiat or a will for the person you're taking care of. You cannot. They must write for themselves, by themselves. They must sign. And if they're mentally incapacitated, mentally incapable, dementia or you like to say nyanyo, no chance really. Cannot write a wasiat. Then that person, when they pass away, will have passed away without a wasiat, and the whole long process has to be followed lah. Let's put it that way lah. Okay, so very common misconception: caregivers, you are not allowed to write a wasiat for your charges. I think that's the right word. Your charges, yes. Okay. All right, gentlemen. I think today was a good episode. Any last words before we close this episode and then prepare for the next one?
I think before we part off, I just want to share for those of you watching in, listening in, we are having our Wasiat and Faraid Planning course, Your Islamic Legacy Your Way, at $97, happening on the 5th of May, 9:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. via Zoom. So if you're interested, you can DM down for the link, or you can just scan the QR code. And if you do it now, you can use my code Zulkifli for an exclusive $20 discount. Right, Afiq, anything else?
Awesome. Yeah, I totally forgot about this, to be frank with you. I'm running the class and I forgot. So yes, to all our listeners, our viewers, we are having the Wasiat class, Your Islamic Legacy Your Way, on the 5th of May. That's Sunday. We do a class in the morning, 9:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. because we know all of you are jemputan in the afternoon. That's why we run the class in the mornings. Come and attend, learn about the processes, learn about the pitfalls, learn about who is involved, who's in charge, learn about how you can help your beneficiaries have a smooth inheritance when you pass away. This is Afiq from Modern Muslim Finance, followed by my two brothers. Brothers, say something before we end.
I'm Zulkifli Rahmat.
I'm Asri Rosli from Modern Muslim Finance.
And so
Selamat Hari Raya to everyone.
Selamat Hari Raya. Follow us for more insights. Follow us for more. Let us know some of your biggest burning questions. And we will see you at the next one. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Salam.